El liberalismo es una corriente del pensamiento político que surge en la Europa de la Ilustración para reivindicar los derechos y libertades del individuo. Los liberales defendemos una sociedad de ciudadanos libres e iguales ante la ley, con derechos y obligaciones, sin dogmas ni tabúes, que apuestan radicalmente por la centralidad. En España, las ideas liberales han sido clave para nuestra democracia. Sin embargo, su suerte y sus resultados han sido dispares. Cuando las crisis azotan y la polarización domina el debate público, los ciudadanos buscan refugio en la rabia, el miedo o el pasado. Aún así, y a pesar de los obstáculos, las ideas liberales siempre han encontrado el camino para resurgir, en nuestro país y en toda Europa. Por eso, hemos hablado con muchos de los grandes protagonistas liberales europeos. Nuestro objetivo no es otro que poner rostro y voz a historias de éxito y de fracaso, proyectos que tropiezan, pero que también vuelven a levantarse, en distintas latitudes, idiomas y acentos. Solo hay una receta para renovarse y ser útil a la sociedad, y no es otra que escuchar a los ciudadanos para reconectar con ellos, tener la audacia de cuestionarlo todo y la convicción de saber por qué eres necesario para tu país. La convicción, al fin y al cabo, de renovar el liberalismo. Si la libertad es antónimo del populismo, una de las voces más fuertes contra el autoritario gobierno de Viktor Orbán en Hungría ha sido Momentum. Momentum es una plataforma nacida en Budapest de la mano de un grupo de estudiantes y jóvenes profesionales hartos de la deriva de su gobierno y de la falta de alternativas. Con la libertad y la defensa del Estado de Derecho por bandera, Momentum nace como movimiento cívico y político en 2017 y en 2019 sale elegido como tercera fuerza en las elecciones europeas. Su candidata, Katalin Cseh, cuenta que visitó el Parlamento Europeo cuando estaba en la universidad y soñaba con poder representar a los húngaros desde Bruselas. Hoy camina por estos pasillos como una de las diputadas más jóvenes y prometedoras del Parlamento. Afable, pero aguerrida, en sus ojos brilla la convicción de quien ha empezado desde abajo y tiene muy claras sus ideas. Well, Katalin Cseh, thank you very much for being here with us today. You are from Hungary. You are one of the youngest MEPs, I would say, in the Liberal group, in Renew group. And you're also, I would say that like the strong young voice we have in the group and that defends liberal values not only in Hungary, but also here in the European Parliament. And you're also vice president of the group. I don't want to forget that. But before getting into the questions I want to ask you, the first one I want to ask is, what is Momentum?
We are a centrist liberal party. I was one of the founders, and we established this party along with 9 other friends with the notion that we need to give representation and a voice for those young people who do not feel represented in our political system, who want to fight for a democratic Hungary, for the rule of law, for a European Hungary where you can succeed and you don't have to leave abroad to have a good life, stable living conditions, and also stable legal conditions around you. And right now we are one of the strongest opposition parties in Hungary, and hopefully with the joint opposition coalition we will be part of the new government that will topple Viktor Orbán next April and steer back to the country to the European route it was always supposed to be at.
The thing is, you were born in 2017, and then since then, well, you have had bad electoral results, but really good electoral results, like the European elections in 2019 that you got over 10%. What were the main challenges that you faced in that building up, and which things do you think were good decisions that actually made what Momentum is today?
I think the big challenge was us to transform our energy and our ideas and our values, and also of the great expectation the society had after our first successful project, into actually results, a party that can deliver. Because it was, after a point it was not enough that we had all the right ideas and we had people who wanted to fight for these ideas. We also needed to have the structures. And we needed to get on the ground, do a very strong grassroots level operation, establish ourselves, and even in the smallest towns, we needed to find links with the local community. And that's difficult. A lot of people think that politics is about, going into a TV studio, debating, or coming here to the European Parliament, having a speech in the plenary. No, this is just on the surface. For us, the real work and how we built up our community involved waking up 5 a.m., driving 2 hours to reach the market hall in a small town far away from your comfortable bed on a Saturday morning, talk to people for hours and hours and answer all the questions and face all the criticism, help them out with the tasks around their community. We painted benches in rural towns where they didn't have enough resources, for instance. We did fundraising for kindergartens. We try to show to the people that politics is not about being elected, but politics is about doing something to your community that makes it feel better. And this is a lot of work.
In your view, when you go back to those challenging years that you are still there, I think, because you're still building up the thing, if you could change anything that you did, if there was something that say, well, this was a mistake, I would have done it in a different way, what would that be? Well,
I mean, if I could change things, I could change a lot. We should have been more professional from the early beginning. We had a lot of infightings during our first campaign about small things, minor things really, about, I don't know, who did show up to work late and things like that. And these minor infightings sometimes really took off our focus from the large task we were faced, which is a fight for a better country. Also, I think that we should have be a bit more realistic, I think, with our activists at first, because we thought that we are this, group of young people with stars in our eyes, and it's absolutely clear that we will make it to the Hungarian Parliament in 2018, 1 year after we were established, and we did not. We reached 3%, way below the threshold. It was a very big disappointment for everybody. And it was partially because we just so believed in ourselves and in our mission that we just couldn't imagine that we couldn't realize it. But I think we have to be honest with ourselves, see the long-term goal, and also see the steps we have to take to get to that point. And a bad election result is not the end of the world. The end of the world is if you don't get up after it and continue fighting.
I wanted to ask you about that 2018, that you didn't get elected to the national parliament. How did you manage internally the party, and you have been always in a leadership role, to reboot, to engage against the people, not to let them go down, and then just 1 year after, you went from below 3% to 11%. What was the success, the recipe for success in just 1 year?
We continued to build the party starting the next day. We didn't rest. We didn't succumb to our difficulties, of our pain, of our complaining, but we kept on building. And I think this is really so important, that even if you are in a bad period, if you keep on working, eventually you will get somewhere. And of course, it's these times, process your feelings also, because, well, politicians have feelings. Activists have even more feelings, that's normal. And also we have to take stock and all that. But a party is actually, I think it's much more about the feelings of the party members of the community. It's about the service we are doing for our community. And we can continue this service, whether we are in parliament, outside parliament, whether we are at 2%, 10%, and the more people see that we are there for us, and not only before elections, but we are there for us continuously, this is, I think, the way to ensure that our support keeps growing.
You are like the really pro-European party in Hungary that actually represents everything that Orban does not, right? Which is liberalism, rule of law, free association, free media, and so on. Is actually this message getting to Hungary? Is people, does people there mix momentum with European Union and the European values?
I think I try to do my best in exhausting my opportunities here in terms of legislative achievements, but also to try to bring this home and speak truth to power and tell the people how much Orban is hurting the country in Europe, in the community, which is our home, and where we receive so much security, funding, trade, solidarity. So we are trying to do both. And I think we managed to twist the narrative a bit. What we do here is actually internal politics. It's about our taxes, it's about our trade, it's about the food we eat, the air we breathe, the labor rules we have to adhere to. This is very internal. And I think with being strong advocates of European issues, we managed to centralize this in the debate, and I think, of course I don't know, but in the next year's election, the role of Hungary in Europe will take a central role. Well, what it takes? A lot of coffee.
It has to be hard to defend liberal values in Hungary. Do you find mismatch between what you defend and what, for instance, a Spanish liberal or a Dutch liberal defends in their countries?
I think every country is different in a bit. So, of course, we disagree on some policies, and that's normal. But I think what we agree on is the basic foundations upon which this union is based. And I think every single one of us in the group agrees on the primacy of the rule of law, on the importance of transparency, of good fiscal conduct, and on equal rights and opportunities for every individual. And I think this is the most important.
You know that Ciudadanos, my party, is a little bit on a negative trend. As you know, we are not managing to do a revolt, although we are still in parliament. What would you advice to Ciudadanos, not only members or voters, but even citizens that maybe sometimes they vote for Ciudadanos and now they don't vote? What is the best advice you could give them to try to understand or defend that there is a liberal space in Spain and it's worth to fight for it?
What I can say as a very general advice, but what I would really advise everybody who is in politics or around politics, that maybe sometimes it's time to put aside the polling and the opinion research and try to find out what people want and what could be popular and who are the target audiences. But just sit down sometimes and think about why we started this whole project. What are the values, what are the goals we were started to fight for when we got into this business? Because I think real passion comes from the heart.
Why are we here on the first
Yes. What are we want to achieve in this game of politics? What change I would like to see in my country or in the world? What I want to fight for? And I think we should also work a bit more on the bond between parties and the communities. We need to be present in the local communities, talk a lot, understand people's issues, and listen to their advices, and try to be a living part of the community and not only a separated club.